Welcome to the Platinum Agent Podcast, where gold is just the beginning. I'm Renee Ruth, top producing agent, global real estate educator, and, believe it or not, a 2025 Grammy nominee. But today I'm here to help you hit the highest level in real estate. This is the Agent to Agent podcast designed to help you grow, scale, and reach platinum status in your business. Expect powerful strategies, expert insights, and real conversations about what it takes to dominate in real estate. And of course, I'm not doing this alone. My co-host Joshua is here too. He may not talk much, he is a dog after all, but he's got a nose for success and a talent for keeping me on track. So if you're ready to stop playing small and start thinking bigger, hit that subscribe button and let's go platinum together. Welcome to Platinum Agent Podcast. My name is Renee Ruth. I am the host of this podcast where I have built this to share inside strategies, expert interviews with people that have done what you have not yet done, and develop mindset-focused discussions to elevate agents to build a business and a brand and success for themselves. And today, I am so excited to be hosting Chris Prefontaine. He is a seasoned real estate investor and a smart real estate coach. He founded this, which I'm so excited to hear more about. He's been in 30 years of experience and has his own podcast that you must check out. We'll share all that towards the end. And he's got a lot of ideas on how to scale your business, especially when it comes to investing. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Thanks, Renee. Yeah, I'm psyched to chat, and hopefully we can impart some nuggets here along the way.
That's all they're here for. That's why it's called platinum. They're not called nuggets, they're platinum nuggets. Okay, so first I always like to ask agents, and you told me before we jumped on this podcast, but I'm like, tell us how you got into this, because how everybody gets in is different, and it usually charts a lot of what happens in their business.
Yeah, so I'll condense New England style. I'll condense 34 years in 2 minutes here, and you can peel me back to any piece of it. So I started in 91. I started out not as an agent. I started out building what I called spot building. So there'd be like an empty lot here, an empty lot here. And I did that naively in my 20s by having the landowner wait for their money. We'd build the house, have all the vendors wait for the money, and then when the buyer financed it, everybody got paid. So it was creative without knowing I was doing creative back then. 95-ish, I put my realtor hat on, got licensed, then eventually opened my own brokerage. It was Realty Executives franchise. I opened it with one goal in mind, to sell in 5 years, and everybody said, "You're not going to sell a brokerage like that. That's not what you do." I did sell it in 2000 to Coldwell Banker. It wasn't huge, but at that age, it was a cool win, a little bit of money, and then I worked with them for a year. That put me running towards the crash of '08. I coached high GCI realtors at the time, not investors, all like 1 million, 2 million and up. They're all doing lots of businesses all too well, but their life was like helter-skelter. So I coached a lot of them, US and Canada, mostly Canada back then. I fell into Richard Robbins. I don't know if you know that name. And he and I became friends, and I helped him out. We had met in the Mike Ferry days. We both were part of that program way back when. So just a little history. So I ran up through the 2008 crash, and then unfortunately I was signed personally on all those loans. And so when everything came toppling down, I just got wrecked financially, mentally. So in 2012, when my wife was like, "Are you going to get back after it, or what's going on here?" In 2012, I started buying again, but as an investor. And I had no credit. I was negative cash. I was in a 1-bedroom apartment. My wife and I had to move into a 1-bedroom then. So it was nasty. And I could only buy owner financing because I couldn't get bank loans. I could only buy subject to existing loans and then lease purchase. Those are the only 3 ways I could do it. So as I started doing that, how we got to Smart Real Estate Coach is people locally, organically started asking me for help. And then a couple of people asked me to write an ebook, and it just started morphing into organically growing into coaching. We hit Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies with that company 3 years in a row, and are now in 80 markets doing deals with realtors, non-realtors, mostly non-realtors, but there are a lot of realtors in our community. And when I say 80 markets, we don't just coach. One of my frustrations in the realtor world and investor world was, okay, great, they sell this stuff and then they go to these seminars, but then there's no support. Nobody doing deals when it gets hard because life happens and these curveballs come at you. So we do that. We do deals with people all in those 80 markets, and we revenue share with them. So we're in it with them, even though it's their deal. So that was more than 2 minutes, but that was my 34 years. We can go back to any part of that.
Let's just go back to the recent part. So this coaching might be interested agents and learning more about that. So when you coach them, you're coaching, you're getting in, explain that more.
Yeah, yeah. So let me relate it directly to realtors because I really wish when my kind of my 95 to 2000 run that I knew this. Like I was in real estate until the crash. I was already in 17 years and I didn't know it. I didn't know how to do all this. So I think of it this way. This is the best way of saying it. As a realtor, think of everything that doesn't nicely fit in your box, meaning I did 100 homes a year as a realtor. I was a listing agent, but I couldn't sell them all, right? I think my rate was like 72% or whatever it was. Okay, so what about all the ones that I just couldn't sell for whatever reason, as good as I thought I was? So I could have did something with those, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then the ones that maybe were going through, they were messed up value-wise, they didn't want to do a short sale, or they didn't want to pay a realtor. Anything that doesn't fit in your box, you could come in it and buy it and be the authority in that space, being able to morally and ethically look at a seller on a listing appointment and go, all right, let me analyze this for you. Let me see if it's best if I sell it outright conventionally, or if it's best for you that I buy it right now and you can wait for your money. So it's just, you have all these different ways of being the authority. And imagine the referrals you'd get by being able to pivot and do that. So now I'll get to your question. So sorry for that long answer.
That's
So
great.
to your question, so we bring people through training, this group, this private, there's different levels, but the bottom line is we're doing deals with them. So myself at the higher levels, my son and son-in-law, and then we have three other coaches who have been all through our program. And that means that they're going to walk you through training, yes, but they're also going to make calls with you to sellers. They're going to structure deals with you. They're going to literally be in the deal with you. Because like I said earlier, you go to a seminar and like, hey, this looks great. I'm going to get rich quick tomorrow. And then you go out in the real world and all these curveballs come at you. So that's what we're here for.
Amazing. Can I ask this question? I don't know if you're willing to share this or we have to join your coaching program to find this out, but you have discussed briefly about creative strategies, right? So owner financing, lease options. The one that was really interesting to me was you as the agent purchasing the house. I think every agent that gets into real estate wants to do that, wants to become like how does that work? How could you give kind of a option for that working for an agent, an average agent, right?
Uh,
That's sitting on a pile of cash.
While they're with a seller presenting it or just on their own or both?
Both, actually, go both. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk just generic, whether you're an agent or not,
Okay.
before I get to the seller side, say at a listing appointment. We're getting our leads from some niche lists like free and clear. There's a third of the properties in the United States that are free and clear that aren't even on the market. So a lot of our stuff is off market. However, we do buy a lot that are expired for sale by owner or for rent by owner. So some of those lists are the same as you're calling. The difference is our licensed people in our community, when they say, are you an agent? Because they've gotten 4,000 calls from an agent, our licensed people are saying, yes, I'm licensed, but I'm calling you because I'm interested in also potentially buying. It's a different conversation. The wall comes down, the defenses come down, and now you're the authority because you could do either one. So I encourage every realtor to learn the creative space, even if you want to do a deal a year, or even if you want to do your own property this way and not have to go through a bank. I also think it lends a lot of credibility when, in addition to being, let's say, with the National Association of Realtors, that you're also certified by the Creative Financing Real Estate Association. And your sellers know that in and of itself, credibility wise, helps because you can get that certification with us. Now, as far as we'll go back to the listing appointment. On the listing appointment, you literally are going to do what's best for the seller. So I'll give you an example, and I don't want to step on toes with agents that might specialize in this, but just reality is, let's say you specialize in short sales. In my opinion, the seller is better off if I buy their home and help them fix their credit in the next 6 months versus taking a hit that might affect them for longer than that on their credit, generally speaking. So if that's the best way, I'm going to tell them, look, this way is going to affect you this way. This way is going to affect you this way. You pick, but there's your options. I'm going to morally ethically tell you what's best. So that's why I think it's a really cool tool for agents. Does that help?
It does. So when you just talk about creative financing certification, what is that?
So in one of our online platforms, the Wicked Smart Academy, we've designed it used to be 10 modules. Now it's 11 or 12 modules, 60 videos, audios. There's a lot in it. It's pretty robust. It's something you'd live in resource wise. It's not a do once and you're done. But when you
Yeah.
go through each module, there's a quiz. It's simple. It's making sure you're tracking. And then when you're done, you get certified from Creative Financing Real Estate Association. So it's, again, just another notch in your belt, like being part of the Association of Realtors. If you decide to work more with us and we revenue share and we do all those deals together, now you're actually accredited because you have a coach. So it's like next level.
Okay. Understood. And then if you're just an average agent, how do you get creative financing? And you highlighted, let's go back to what happened to you at the crash, because I think there's a lot of talk and chatter right now that we're in something that's coming again. I don't know, there's doomsdayers. So a lot of agents are nervous. So
Yeah.
you clearly survived, not unscathed, but survived. How did you get creative to do that? You can't get a loan from, like, how did you do that?
Yeah. Let me address the realtor side too as part of this answer, because I remember when I was active as an agent, my wife would be like, how's this affecting you? How's this affecting you? And I used to get excited actually when a lot of the realtors are running the other way. Like right now, I think a lot of realtors are running the other way. And I'm going to tell you as a realtor, don't listen to the media and don't run the other way. Get excited that realtors are exiting. And that means more business for you.
Yeah.
Just general thought. That's why I used to just a twist in mindset. As far as how did I get creative? I started reaching out to, and it had to be a lot online then. This was back in 2012. People that were doing just different things because I looked and I couldn't find companies that were educating and supporting. They were
Yeah.
selling courses, and now 10 years, 13 years later, I think it's 100 times worse. You go on social media and everybody's pounding you with the courses and all this junk, and then they don't support it. You're like, good luck. So I started creating it because I was frustrated. My wife said, why don't you help others do it then? And it just organically grew. That's all.
That's fantastic. I feel the same way. I have a agent coaching program just on doing their job, but it's support. Like you have a lead gen system, but I'm supporting you like in
Yeah, awesome.
carrying. Because it's like you said, if you just are watching a video, it's not actually what happens when the video is done. It's like going to a weekend seminar. What happens when
Yeah, that's different. Even as a
yeah,
realtor, no big deal.
yeah, it doesn't, nothing changes. How does this change for investors then? If you're doing this kind of approach, your Wicked Smart approach, how does that impact investors or does it, or do all agents need to become investors? What's the theory?
I just suggest they do because for the reasons I mentioned earlier, but as far as how does it affect investors in general, creative real estate has been around before banking. It's not new. All I did is say, all right, I trademark some things with the way we get paid, and I'll mention that because that's key for agents. But I
Yeah,
also just wrapped a bow around it and said, here's the system like you're doing with your program. So investors now that are out there buying conventionally, like I thought you had to do,
yeah,
they're limited with bank loans. They're exposing all their personal assets by signing personally. Like a lot of them are doing that. I speak to a lot of investors. I'll be calling on their own property and then they'll go, oh, this is interesting. And then they'll start to learn our stuff. So I think everybody should. Let me talk about the pay. It just dawned on me that I should mention this. So when I was in my kind of heyday, like 96 to 2000, we hit 100 homes a year, like 100 to 112. But every January I'd be bummed out. I'd be like, I got to do all this again. I don't care if you have a lot of referrals or not. You're doing it again. It's very transactional, right? So then when I came out of the crash, I said, all right, one of the things I won't do again is I won't be on that proverbial treadmill. So we trademarked the 3 paydays. It's how we exit properties, but it basically gives you now money like you used to as an agent. Then it kicks in an income stream for 2, 3, 4, 5 years monthly. And then it kicks in a long-term payout. So now you have the perfect business model, cash flow wise, even if you and I were going to open a restaurant, that kind of a cash flow model works. So that's what we
yeah.
trademarked.
That's incredible. I want to know about this. Like
I
this
will
is,
get you VIP tickets to QLS Live, our event. You gotta come.
please stop. I want to know about this. That's amazing. Okay, so this is a family operated business. You mentioned that before, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
share more about like how you've leveraged that to maintain success. And yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. I won't take credit for the growth we've had, meaning the Inc. 5000 growth and all that, because I'm more like a lot of the agents. I was always a solopreneur, like always. I knew how to hustle. I don't want to downplay making $1 million, but for anyone listening, to make $1 million is you hustle more, you get up early, you stay up late, you do more calls, but you can do it. It's just grind. It was my son-in-law, my son, and then a bunch of cool team members we brought on that started loving the scaling side of it. I like doing deals. So I work still in the trenches with students doing that, and they like scaling. So that's how the growth took place. It didn't happen until 2017 because
Oh,
I was
wow.
just grinding it out. I like coaching and I like doing deals. So that was the transition. And the family's still involved except for my daughter because her kids are 5 and 8 now and she's rather busy.
The priority. She'll be back.
Yeah, yeah, she's creeping back.
So the grandkids.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So how can a real estate agent invest without using personal cash or credit? So that you mentioned that
Yeah.
you couldn't even qualify for another crash. So how does an agent do that?
Yeah, my credit was in the toilet. It went from almost 800 to nothing.
400 or below?
However low it can go is what it did. I can promise you that. And now, let me say this before I answer how they can. Now that my credit's fine, I'm debt free, and all that stuff that everybody wants that I never was, I don't buy any other way but these ways still. So the owner financing piece I talked about, where you're making payments to the owner directly, the subject to existing financing piece where you're buying a property, the loan is staying in their name. These are people usually that are financially, they need help, unlike the free and clear people.
Yeah.
So I buy the house, it stays in their name, they're the guarantor. I didn't assume it, I'm paying it on their behalf, but I own it. And then the third way is lease purchase, where I control unlimited amount of property for $10 a piece, and I control it by a lease purchase, but then I sell it rent to own. So I'm just in the middle on that particular piece. The other ones I own.
Really quick about, because I ran into a guy one time and he actually was, so I'm curious about this from a seller's perspective. He was a young guy, he'd bought a house and he wanted out from under it. And I think he ran into one of your like creative guys because the situation he was in was he owned the home, but he couldn't buy another house because this home was still in his name. Does that make sense? So how
Yeah,
does
that happens if it's not paperwork. If that's not done properly, that can hinder them going in another deal. So that's somebody messing up how they structured his deal, frankly, because it should have been
okay.
done with a wrap mortgage so that he can show the bank, look, I don't own it, and here's my paperwork to show that I'm covered, my debt's covered.
Got it. So there was somebody that was trying to use your system and didn't understand it enough. Okay.
Name's not important, but there's plenty of people to this day teaching it that
Okay.
says just okay, if they're hurting, go get the quick claim of deed to yourself. Well, A, you're avoiding taxes. That's not good with the IRS and the state. But B, you're putting the seller in a bad position. It's got to be done right.
So that's what happened to him. I was because you mentioned that, and I recently had that experience with this buyer who couldn't.
Yeah.
He still can't buy. Like it's just yeah. But I know that you're. I love that you're very focused on what's best for the seller. So I was like, okay, there has to be a way that this is happening. That's in their
Yeah.
interest. Okay.
We actually, you know what, Renee, we should hit buyers. This is big because you brought that up. So when we exit, procuring the property is the harder piece of the equation. Exiting is easy. Why? Because right now, depending on what broker you talk to, if they do a lot of loans, they'll tell you, and you probably agree, like 17 or 18 out of 100 are getting qualified on the spot. Now, it doesn't mean the other 83% are great buyers for our program, front owned, because they got true buyers that just need time, not renters that mess up their credit for 40 years. But picture the buyers you deal with. If you know what you're doing with this, or you can refer to someone, but why not learn it? Learn how to, okay, the buyer's credit's messed up, or the buyer just started their own business, so they need 2 years of seasoning and they didn't know it, but they got cash and they got good credit. So what if you could put them into a rent-to-own program, and then when they're done, not only did you sell them that house because it was your house, but you also can connect with your mortgage broker and they get the end financing done on that. There's a whole win-win here, triple
That's
win.
huge.
So you can help all those buyers. We have some of them in tears because they're like, I thought I couldn't buy, the rates double, like lots of them. Or I messed my credit up because of COVID. So that's who we're putting into these homes. They deserve it. They just need time.
So this market, I don't know what it's like up where you are, but like in our market, one of the reasons agents are exiting is because it is very challenging and you have to get creative. The tradition, what
Yep.
we were throwing at a wall during the pandemic
Yeah. Yeah.
is it's not working as consistently now. This is something that I'm sure most agents hearing this would be interested in learning. Can you share just really quickly about the Smart Real Estate Coaching Program, how you can help these individuals replicate the success you've achieved?
Yeah, so we do all the things that I said I was frustrated with that didn't exist, right? We come behind it with support. Like literally, someone could be touching base with, even if they're in the group coaching, the lower level, they could be touching base with someone 4 days a week. Four. They're
Wow.
never like left alone.
Getting communicated, send a message.
Live on Zoom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, live on Zoom, doing calls for them. Like they're brand new, they've been an agent, but they don't know how to do this. They bring a lead in, say
Yes.
from their own seller or an expired, and they go, hey, and the coaches will call it right there, boom, in a spot for them and get them the deal. So that's how we do it. We run boot camps here that do the same. So you're not far from us. You come in here, you bring leads, you're gonna leave with deals, and you're gonna hear how we did it. So
So
that's
yeah,
very,
that's how
very
you learn to
hands-on.
replicate it. Yes. Okay, so wait, just to be clear, I have a seller, the house, there's issues with listing. It's going to be too difficult, right?
Yep.
I can literally come into this live session with my seller. Come here, sir.
You just bring your lead, and then we'll pick up the phone or do a Zoom with your seller together.
Wow. Dude, that's amazing.
And then you learn it, right? Eventually you learn it. But
Eventually you learn.
they come in the workshop and they go, oh, this is what you guys say you do. Yeah, we do it. Like you're here watching us do it, and bring your own leads and we'll do it for you.
That's amazing. Okay, literally any agent listening to this right now needs to go to the websites that he's going to give you. But before we jump off, I want to give one last thing. If you had an agent in front of you that's just starting, you mentioned when we first jumped in, there's a lot of things that you wish you would have done differently when you had got into real estate. Can you maybe like short story some of the things, highlight the nuggets that if an agent was a couple years in or newer, what would you want them to know that you didn't know?
I would put the blinders on for 3 to 7 years, and then you can decide then. But put the blinders on for 3 to 7 years because there's so many shiny objects in the realtor space and investor space, right? So put the blinders on and latch on to a mentor or two who are where you want to be. But when I say where you want to be, I don't just mean financially, because there are people you and I both know that messed up relationships or marriages or whatever because they were all business. I'm talking about well-rounded, someone that you go, oh, I'd like to do that. So do that for 3 to 7 years, and you'll have a great experience, and don't get distracted by anything. And then certainly stop listening to the media because that'll crush you as an agent.
You mean like about the rates and about
Everything. They just don't know, and they think they know. It's just craziness.
yeah. And then okay, so we're gonna highlight three questions, answers, and then we can check out with
Right.
you your sites. Okay, first question. How do you turn a no into a high ticket yes without dropping your price?
This will be interesting for the realtors here. So I did that with just the authority piece. I'm talking just when I was an agent, forget now. I used to charge a fee to take the listing, and I charged a fee for the listing, a percentage higher than anyone in my marketplace. Anyone. And I just went on the authority and confidence. I think when you guys learn the scripts and you come across as confident, you could say the wrong thing, but if you're coming across as confident, you can get where you want to be with any of those negotiations, not negotiations, but any of those conversations.
So I'm going to share a quick story. I was in university and I was so confident in this class I was in. She asked a question and I was like, it is this and this. And I remember she was like, oh, okay. And then like later I'm reading, I'm like, that was completely wrong. But
You were confident.
I said it was to the authority in the room. I said it to the authority with such confidence that she was like, oh, okay. Like it just made perfect sense to her. And later I read it and I was like, that wasn't even true. Like,
Perfect example. Perfect
how
example.
did she not even? It was like she even had the blinders. Like she was just like, oh, she must be right. Like,
Afraid to challenge it. Yeah.
yes. Okay. So you leveraged that when you were a real estate agent and
Yeah.
just
Gotta.
amazing. Okay. And then what exact sales process could you use to move someone from a cold lead to a paid client in under 10 days?
So there's different systems taught within your world, but no matter what it is, same as us, we have our CRM that drips properly on them and is very clear. Let me say this. When you're clear and confident are the two things. When you're clear, because we already hit confidence, they want to follow clarity because they're listening to the media too. They're all distracted. There's uncertainty. When you're clear, they want to follow you. Now, here's the scary part. When you're not clear, that 10 days can turn into 120 because they just keep pushing you off because they don't want to follow if you're not clear. Does that make sense? Those are
Absolutely. So really, you just need to have clarity. I would say people always ask how I would turn and burn clients. And it's because I worked really hard to get to know who they were and what they were trying to achieve, and then created a clear path that existed, right? Like I wasn't creating a future path. I was like, okay, here's the houses, here's what you're after, let's go. And then I would just turn,
So
and
you
I
just hit a big thing though, Renee. You nailed it when you said you listened to them what they want, and then you got their solution clarity. I listen to we critique calls live to help our students, and I listen to them. I go, you listen, you're thinking about your next script. You're not even listening to what they're telling you. Just solve for what they're telling you, and that's what you just said.
I tell people, as I tell when I look as coaches, when I coach agents, I say to them, I'm like, when you get a new client, I should be able to ask you anything about them that you know the answer. And if you don't, you failed. Meaning
Yep.
like, where did they live when they grow up? Like it could be like you in your initial conversation with them, whether you meet them in an open house or they're a cold lead, you should know so much about them that by the time they hang up the phone, they think they just met their best friend. And plus, they know nothing about you, no more than you're an agent, but you know everything about them to help figure out where they need to go
Help
next.
solve. Yep.
How you turn and burn. Okay, last question, last question. And this, I think we've answered this, so let's highlight this to close this up. But how do you tell someone who has more experience and more money or more status, how do you sell to them when you don't have that yet? Especially if you
This is just a mindset. This is nothing more than a mindset. You have to understand, I don't care what status they have or what money they have, they don't know what they don't. They didn't go through your courses. They don't have any clue. I tell my students 98% of more than any seller and any person at a local RIA club, real estate investment club, just by going through our course. You guys are the same. More than than most sellers, doesn't matter if they're high tech or whatever, they made their money. I don't know what you do. So here's what sarcastically, what one of my mentors used to say. He said to me, and he says this to people, you might be the best, whatever, you fill in the blank, what they are, but you don't know squat about what I do. That's a fact in most people's. So know that and go in confident. It's a mindset.
I love that you hit mindset because that's one of my big things about coaching is that
Huge.
80% of it is your mental.
If not more, yeah.
Maybe you tell me a better stat. I personally feel like my business is built 80% on mindset, but it could definitely be more. I would also say too, to add to that thought, I used to teach university. So when I taught communications, I was a professor. I was called a professor. But here's the difference. I couldn't walk into the university to teach science. I couldn't walk into it because I didn't have
Exactly.
like that's what I say. Like, you're a real estate agent. I don't care how much chat GPT they watch. I don't care how many AI assistants they have. They don't do this every day. They don't have the bank of knowledge that you have. And even if you've done one deal, you still know more than someone that hasn't done.
Yeah, and remember, they want the confidence and clarity. Just remember that. That's all they want.
Confidence and clarity. You need that like on a t-shirt, like your wicked
Yeah.
confidence.
We have so many t-shirts. I haven't done that one yet, but we'll work on it.
Yes, I want to see that. I'm buying the Wicked Smart Confidence and Clarity. I'm here for it. Chris, I've so enjoyed interviewing you. Thank you so much for joining. I think at the end of this, honestly, if I kept going, I would want you to give us a mini lesson on your coaching program. And instead
We can do it another time.
Yes, doing that. Let me send everybody listening to the website. It's Smart Real Estate Coach. That's also his podcast, Smart Real Estate Coach Podcast. Then it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Look him up if you're an agent because he has got resources that I have never heard of. And I've been in this for 8 years. So you're going to see me, Chris. You're going to see me again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, talk soon. That's it for this episode of Platinum Agent Podcast. If you're ready to take your business beyond gold and into platinum, let's connect. Reach out to me at this email, renee@reneeruthofficial.com, and we'll make something happen. Don't forget, hit subscribe because Joshua and I will be back with more insights. Until then, go platinum.